All right, you know what it is. This was about mental illness in the prison, man. All right, we're going to give you mental illness in the prison.
Hi guys, welcome to Platinum Cuisines. We're located on the Northern Canal in Freeport.
Tune in to Unique Mecca Audio.
All right, Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm going to tell you this one. This is a good one. This is about mental illness in the prison. Y'all been asking for a Chicago story, but I don't know if y'all wanted this one, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy this one. This is mental illness in the prison. All right, we had a homie, we in Coleman, we in Coleman Penitentiary. We had a homie from Chicago. I think that's where he was from. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me, because I know there's enough people out there that, was in the prison that's watching these videos. Big shout out to the homies. Now, mental illness in the prison. We had a dude from Chicago. His name was Chuck. You know what I mean? Chuck was about 6'2", you know what I mean? About 220, about 230. You know what I mean? He wasn't in bad shape, but he wasn't in good shape. He had a little bare belly, you know what I mean? And he walked around and always played crazy. You know what I mean? So don't mind these words I'm using. I know we got the nitpickers. Now, Chuck always played crazy. Chuck walked around and he talked to himself. And he got his own language. Nobody know what he talking about. Like he'll come up to you in the unit doing the night bell. You know what I mean? And do like, huh? You know what I mean? And be like, you know what I mean? So we know he want a soup. So, of course, we gave him a butt naked soup. You know what I mean? So we gave him a little butt naked soup and Chuck was cool. Chuck spent all day. He spent all day out on the compound looking for cigarette butts and chew. Chew is where, they police chew the chewing tobacco, you know what I mean, out the little round can, Copenhagen, I think they call it, and spit it on the ground. You know what I mean? So when they spit it on the ground, you got a whole bunch of dudes that did it, not just Chuck with the mental illness. You had dudes that so-called didn't have mental illness that was running around picking chew up off the ground. So imagine the police walking around and you see him with a big glob in his mouth and he chewing, and you got 10 inmates walking behind him. Everybody's waiting on him to take a break from chewing that tobacco and spit it out. You know what I mean? They only spit it out. They go, they pick it up, they put it in their pocket, or they put it in a napkin, or they walk around with a glove, a little plastic glove like you're in one of the smorgasbord joints. You know what I mean? Or they walk around with an envelope, whatever. You know what I mean? But they'll pick that joint up, take it back to the unit, put it in a microwave. You know what I mean? Yeah, the microwave that we all ate out of. That was always a big problem when we catch somebody doing that. You know what I mean? Put in the microwave and they cook it down, they cook the spit out and dry it out. And then when they dry it out, then they'll sit there and they'll roll it up in some Bible paper. Yes, Bible paper, or toilet paper. The outside wrapping from the toilet paper, that wax joint that come with it. Roll that up and they'll smoke that and they'll get a little nicotine buzz to feel like they high, just to escape the mental madness of what's going on within the prison, doing their life sentence, 30 years, 20 years, or even 5 years. Now, Chuck sat there and he walked around looking for this all day. Police would smoke cigarette butts and they'll throw it on top of the roof. You know what I mean? Now, they throw it on top of the roof, figure nobody could get to it. Then they might sit there and they throw it down on the ground, but they'll knock out all the tobacco and, just be the cigarette butt. And the little grains that fall on the floor, you got dudes that used to be there like crackhead that'll pick the grains up off the floor. You understand what I'm saying? And walk around doing all that, looking for little grains of tobacco, you know what I mean? Then go back, sift through it on a piece of paper, you know what I mean? And try and, come up with enough to make a cigarette joint. You know what I mean? Yeah, these are the things that they go through in jail. So you youngins out there got it good, arguing with your mom for smoke money and things like that. You know what I mean? And doing what you got to do. And she telling you, nah, you can't get it, and you getting mad. Imagine being in prison, and the only way you're going to get something to smoke is from when the CO spit the joint out on the ground. You understand? The CO spit it out on the ground, and then you pick it up and take it in the microwave, dry it out, and roll it up in toilet paper or Bible paper. That's what y'all trying to do? Keep breaking the law. You know what I mean? So now, Chuck walk around looking for these cigarette butts and he played crazy. So he'll even walk into the police while he chewing tobacco, get all up in the police face with his bad breath and be like, oh. Nobody know what he's saying, but they know what he want. You know what I mean? He either want tobacco or he wants something to eat. So you normally give him a soup because, like I said, a butt naked soup only costs 25 cents. So now, that was old Chuck. Then we had this big old cop. Now I'm going to have to put him up here on the screen. We had this big old cop You know, big white boy. He was on steroids. That's, you know, I've been locked up a long time. I didn't know what steroids was. I got locked up in '93. All they had was the creatine and stuff like that, the powder they drunk, and they lift the weights and they blow up and make their joint shrink. Yeah, make the joint shrink and all that old crazy shit that I don't heard about with that creatine out there and all that. But now had this big old cop that was huge, and he just walked around all day with a frown on his face, like he mad at the world. You understand what I'm saying? So now, you know, old Chuck out there, and he picking up tobacco butts and whatever he could find, trying to make something out of something. And, you know, he playing crazy like Chuck going to unit. And I might be sitting down on the stairs and Chuck know I had a store, in a prison store. So Chuck go in the joint and he'd be like, sit down next to me mumbling, talking loud. I'm like, what, you hungry, Chuck? And I said, well, you better talk better than that if you want something. Ask me for soup. And he's like, and he's still faking like he don't know how to talk. You know, I say faking because I'm going to tell you why I say faking. So now while Chuck doing all that, you understand what I'm saying? Everybody looked out for Chuck. Good dude, man, good dude. Chuck had an MP, people had money. They used to send him money and all that, and they had the MP3 players. I'm going to show you an MP3 player next video because I don't have it in my possession. It's in the other room. They had the little MP3 players where we had to buy the songs for like $1.30. You know what I mean? For the newest songs, and the cheapest you get a song for like 90 cents. But, you know, we had to buy the song. So some dudes, you know what I mean? Like my man from Florida, Dewey, big shout out to Dewey. That's Ben Yahweh's son. You know, Dewey had a joint that had like, you know, 5,000 songs on it. But the only thing is, each song costs $1.50. So imagine how much he paid the government to buy these same songs that we downloading out here for free. We pay $1.50 for every download. But you can listen to when you want, so you get to, you know, like I said, escape the madness from the bullshit going on. So you got, you know, Dewey with 5,000 songs. You got my man Chuck. He had about 200-300 songs, but Chuck knew all the songs. Yeah, he couldn't talk, but you know what I mean? He couldn't talk English, you know what I mean? Or couldn't talk at all, but he knew all the songs to tell everybody to get. So we'd take Chuck over to the machine and we'd, you know, give him one of the earbuds, and you know, and we'll let him loose on the Corelink's computer, and he pulling up all the songs and he playing them for us, and we picking the songs we like that Chuck like. Yeah, Chuck, the one that's supposed to be mentally challenged. But now, so you know, just to understand that Chuck was functional. You know, everybody liked Chuck. They kept Chuck in the cell by himself. Because when they would put Chuck in the cell, nobody wants to be in the cell with Chuck. But the only thing about Chuck I can say is he took a shower every night. But he never used no lotion or nothing like that. And, you know, he was dark skinned. So he was always ashy. Face ashy, hands ashy, ankles ashy, everything ashy. So he might just come out with a pair of shoes with no socks on, ankles, you know, look like snowflakes. You know what I mean? And, you know, that was Chuck. I just want you to get a good understanding. So everybody knew Chuck was mentally challenged, so nobody took Chuck seriously. You know what I mean? But then we had this one big old cop, like my man right there, you know what I mean, on the screen. You know what I mean? This big old cop, he out there one day, and he see Chuck doing his thing. You know what I mean? Picking up tobacco butts. Police didn't like inmates picking up tobacco butts. So Chuck one day got real bold with it. Like I said, they used to smoke the cigarettes and throw the butts up on the roof so the inmates couldn't get to it. Chuck climbed up on that roof. Chuck climbed up on the roof to get the cigarette butts, and when he went up there, it's like he hit a platinum mine. It was about 1,000 cigarette butts up there. He putting cigarette butts all in his pocket, and he'll go back to the unit. He'll dump them out on the table with the little butts that he find, the little tobacco that they dumped out the cigarette when they doing it, just to throw away the butt. Chuck went, picked all that up with the little rocks and gravel and everything, put in his pocket, dumped them up, the rocks, gravel with the little tobacco on the counter of his desk, and he take a playing card and he sift through it, and he making a cigarette to smoke. But everybody knew that was old Chuck. And sometimes Chuck came up with good smoke, or more time the police would even hand Chuck a cigarette because they felt bad for him, because they knew that he didn't have none. He kept nothing in his unit, in the cell, because he sold everything. You understand? But his people sent him money. That's how he was able to buy the songs, you know, from that Corelink's joint. So we all out in the yard one day, and this big old cop over there, they always telling people don't pick up the cigarette butts, don't pick up the spit, which is the chew. that they spitting out. So, you know, Chuck didn't pay that no mind. Chuck still walking right by the police and would tell the police, pat him on his leg, like how they did me in Oklahoma when that police pat me on the ankle I told you about in another video and said, "Atta boy." You know what I mean? Like I was old cow. That's how Chuck patting the police on their big black boots, telling them to move out the way so you can get the little tobacco he see on the floor or the cigarette butt or whatever when they telling us we ain't allowed to pick it up. But the police know that Chuck ain't got it all upstairs. So, you know what I mean? They let him get away with it. Then there was this one big old cop in there, man. I mean, this big old cop, this dude was so big. He was big like this dude right here. He was huge, but he was on steroids and he walked around all burly all the time and all that. So we out there one day and he told Chuck, stop picking up them cigarette butts. You know what I mean? So Chuck looked at me and said, you know what I mean? And he said, didn't I tell you stop picking up cigarette butt? Chuck kept picking up cigarette butt. So when Chuck was down there picking up cigarette butt, he went and physically put his hands on Chuck and grabbed him by the back of his jacket. It was like the winter months, so we had our little, prison jackets on. He grabbed him by the back of his jacket and tried to like spin him around by the jacket. Chuck wasn't having it. You know what I mean? Chuck got mad because that's like a dog eating his food and, you go messing with his bowl. You know what I mean? Chuck trying to get his food to eat with these tobacco and they messing with his bowl. So they grabbed Chuck and, pulled Chuck. And when they pulled him, he spun around and the police trying to grab him, but his jacket is all wrapped around him. But the police trying to grab him to cuff him to lock him up for picking up his cigarette butt. No other police mess with Chuck. Like I said, Chuck every bit of 6'2", about 220, 230. You know what I mean? And in good shape, just got a little bit, little gut from eating the soups late night after he done smoking cigarettes when they lock him in the cell and he ain't got nothing better to do. So Chuck sitting there and he spinning around with the dude, and dude grabbed him by the jacket. Now the dude tried to grab Chuck and slam Chuck. And all Chuck trying to do is get away. Chuck ain't trying to fight. Hit that like button, man, and hit that Cash App if y'all like these videos, man. Show some support. Hit that like button and subscribe and show the support. So Chuck grabbed the dude trying to stop him from grabbing him. You know what I mean? And now the dude mad because he couldn't pick Chuck up to slap him. You know what I mean? A big old Broly boy like this. You know what I mean? He mad that he couldn't pick this black boy up and slam him. So when he did that, Chuck got mad because he kept trying to grab him by his legs like he trying to scoop him. So Chuck got mad and grabbed him by the waistline, picked this cop up in the air, had him all the way up in the air over the head, and slammed him down on his back and his neck. You know what I mean? Now the other police see it, so it don't matter how crazy Chuck be playing now, how crazy Chuck is. You know what I mean? Maybe that was old Chicago strength in him. You know what I mean? Or wherever he was from. Y'all correct me like I said, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Chuck was one of the Chicago family. You know? So Chuck slams the boy. The police run over there trying to grab Chuck. And now Chuck feel threatened the same way you corner a raccoon, a skunk, anything in the corner, a cat, your pet poodle, you know what I mean? Your pet monkey Bubbles, you corner them in the corner, and you know they're going to fight to get out. So now Chuck fighting, and he fighting like 5, 6 police. You know what I mean? Now, the one that he slammed, he got up and got mad and just barreled past everybody and tried to grab Chuck by the legs, and Chuck grabbed him by the waistline again, picked him up in the air, where his legs is behind him, is behind him, his head is over this way, and Chuck got him up in the air and slammed him again. So everybody like, oh snap, Chuck done lost it. But Chuck holding his own, you know what I mean? So now they out there fighting, they coming and Chuck throwing punches and he whooping them. You know what I mean? So I mean, this old Chicago story for y'all, Chicago family. You know what I mean? Y'all want to know, you know how your people hold it down. So Chuck whooped this cop. So they locked Chuck up. Chuck was getting ready to go home. So could you believe they locked Chuck up? Now that he getting ready to go home and talk about they gonna give him 28 days, you know what I mean? Lost a good time. So now he had to do 28 more days and he's getting ready to go home. Chuck didn't even care about going home and think about going home. We used to tease him and tell him, you get ready to go home, Chuck. You know what I mean? And Chuck, he ain't even thinking about that. He's just looking for tobacco on the ground. But Chuck don't whoop this big old cop. And the big old cop ran around when he came. He walking around like he cut like that, thinking everybody's scared of him. You understand what I'm saying? But dude just didn't want no problems. But, you know, Chuck didn't want none either. But he forced Chuck's hand. You know what I mean? So now Chuck goes in the shoe and they lock him up in there for about a month. You know what I mean? So he lost his good time. And then, you know, this cop had the nerves to come back to work the next day. When they was telling them, go take some sick time so you get paid by the government, blah, blah, blah. This is what all the COs is talking about, what they trying to tell them. Go get some sick time, man. And, You know what I mean? And get your head right. You know what I mean? But you ain't had no business putting your hand on no goddamn inmate like that. Must it's an inmate like Chuck that you know is mentally challenged. So he feels stupid, but he walking around. But now, after Chuck done slammed him twice on his joint, he walking around like this now with like, you know, the muscle arm. And this how he look all deformed from where Chuck slammed him. So everybody's saying, you know, when he walked by, they be like, yeah, that's that Chuck work. That's that Chuck work. You know what I mean? That was Chuck work. You know what I mean? And like I said, he walking arm all stuck out, looking all crazy. So now they getting ready to let Chuck out. But being that Chuck crazy, he ain't connected to no gang or nothing because, you know, Chuck has got his own language doing him. They let Chuck out. So now when they let Chuck out the hole, Chuck walking out of the compound, Chuck ain't even thinking about that cop. But he's sitting there and he sees some tobacco butts right there next to that cop again. Now he go over there to go get the tobacco, and the cop stand there and the cop take two steps over to give Chuck room to pick up his cigarette butts. Well, that's all he had to do the last time, and he wouldn't have had to worry about being slammed on his neck and disrespected in front of all the men out there. You know what I mean? So now he acting like he don't see Chuck. He looking straight up. Like he got an attitude, and Chuck all on his feet picking it up. Chuck didn't even care nothing about that. You know what I mean? So now, Chuck out there. So a month go by and I'm in the unit with old Chuck. Chuck come over there. So you already know what that means. He wanted a butt naked suit. So I give him a little butt naked suit. But if he didn't knock the cop out, I gave him 3. You know what I mean? No disrespect. But I give him 3 soup. So he go over there and he start cooking it. And one thing about Chuck, you know what I mean? He'll get the food and he'll never say thank you. Because he always playing crazy. So he sit there and he go hook up his soup and he chilling. So I go in the cell. I said, damn, Chuck, you ain't even say thank you. He said, still ain't saying thank you. So he mumbling, having a whole conversation about something. I don't know what the hell he talking about. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, Chuck, when somebody gives you something, you're supposed to say thank you. And he's like, but I'm just really wrecking. I don't care about no thank you. I don't even like my homies to tell me thank you. But anyway, so we up in the joint. So I said, Chuck, when you going home? And he said, huh? I said, when you go home? He said, huh? I said, you know, to the street. You getting ready to go, right? And he said, man, I don't know. I said, give me your papers, man, because I know you lost good time from slamming that cop on the neck. So I look at his papers, and I saw Chuck was supposed to be home 90 days before that even happened. You understand what I'm saying? So come to find out, that was the reason they put Chuck back on the compound, because they forgot about his paperwork. Because normally dudes get ready to go home, they go in the unit team office, man, I'm getting ready to go home in 2 weeks. You got my halfway house package. My family want to send clothes in and things like that. Chuck ain't do none of that. Chuck just walked around looking for cigarette butts. You know what I mean? So I lost, he's supposed to be home 90 days ago. He said, huh? So I take his paperwork to the next day. They hated me in there, first of all, because I look out for brothers like that and the other brothers that needed help, because I knew the legal work. So I go get Chuck the next morning, and I take Chuck in the back to the unit team office. So when I take him in the back to the unit team office, I show him the paperwork. I said, look, Chuck was supposed to be home 90 days ago. So that incident that happened with Big Red, that's what we called him Big Red, because he was a big old redneck. So we called him Big Red. I said, that incident happened with Big Red in the yard should have never happened, because Chuck should have never been here. Y'all missed this paperwork. You know what I mean? So they already knew it, but they paid off. So, oh, let me see that. So they looking at it. They said, oh, you're right. You know, so, you know, but he lost 28 days. All right, well, then he still got 60 days over. You know what I mean? Oh, there's nothing we could do now because he hit the officer and, you know, nobody's trying to help him. I said, I don't care who he hit or what he's trying to do. The man don't belong here. You got him 60 days over. First, it was 90 days. You took 28 days. So call that a month. So he still got 60 days that he over. So Chuck's supposed to get immediate release. And they're like, come on, they call me Hall. Come on, Hall. How you gonna sit here worrying about Chuck when you sitting here doing a life sentence? I said, because he's a man. He's a black man. And he's in the struggle, and he need to get out, and he got issues. You understand what I'm saying? So now I go back there, and they talking to me one-on-one. I say, look, man, just do the man paperwork. Get the man out of here, man. He don't belong in here, because I don't want the officers to try and get retaliation and do nothing to Chuck. Because, you know, not threatening y'all, but if y'all try and jump on Chuck when I'm around, it's not going to be nothing nice. You understand what I'm saying? So please, let's not do that. There's other brothers that feel the way I feel, because we feel like you took advantage of Chuck. You know what I mean? Or tried to take advantage of Chuck. So they talk, oh, but Chuck beat up the police and this and that. No, the police put his hands on him. You saw it on the camera. They looked at it. That's why they let him out. Now I realize y'all let him out because you got the man 90 days over his time in prison. You know what I mean? And we're going to look at it. So now they look at it, and then they come back and they pull me up. They be like, look, we got Chuck leaving in 10 days. We got time to, you know, to do his paperwork. You know what I mean? So now, mind you, I told you Chuck used to always you know, when the police throw the cigarette butts up there, you know, at night when it get dark, about 7:30, right before it get pitch dark, Chuck would go up there when the compound closed and he'll throw his hands up on the top of the roof and pull himself up, go up there and get his little, you know, cigarette butts the police been throwing up there. So now they know they don't promise me they're going to let old Chuck leave in 10 days. So guess what they do? They lock Chuck up for attempted escape because they said he climbed up on the roof. The man been doing it way before this. But that was their way of getting back at me for getting involved. Something they normally let him get away with. Now they want to lock old Chuck up for climbing on the roof, getting cigarette butts. You know what I mean? So they lock Chuck up again. Chuck do 30 more days in the hole. So now I feel bad. Chuck come out, so I make sure I bring him down there a bunch of soups and, you know, the little Kool-Aid pack, you know what I mean? And, you know, bought him some chips and made sure he got food to eat. But he's still, you know what I mean, over 30 days. So, you know what I mean? I felt bad as a man. But Chuck telling me, oh, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? I ain't worrying about them. So I give him something to smoke. So he's smoking his cigarettes and he's chilling. So now here goes old Chuck. Chuck goes and he gets on the phone. You understand? I never seen him on the phone. The homies said Chuck got on the phone after I talked to him. Now, the homies come over there. They laughing at me. They say, man, you doing all that, going all out for Chuck, man. You know what I mean? He ain't even from New York. I don't care where he from. He a black man in the struggle. You know what I mean? And that's, of course, that's what I told him. So he said, yo, but you doing all that? And Chuck got on the phone and was talking to his people on the phone, and he wasn't talking that crazy mumbling talk. That man was talking just as straight as me and you, man. Chuck been faking everybody out for all this time. You understand what I'm saying? They say Chuck on the phone telling his people that he get ready to go home in 10 days. You know what I mean? Because he done did 30 days, came out, so now he still had the little 10 days. So we sitting in there and everybody laughing and, you know, we all having fun. So I go up to Chuck. I said, Chuck, I thought you couldn't speak. He said, and he talked. I said, yo, the homie said he seen you on the phone talking to your peoples, man. And Chuck plays through like he don't know. So up to this day, I don't know if he ever was, because I didn't hear him talking on the phone. But the homies is saying that Chuck got on the phone, was talking clear as day to his family members on the phone, telling them he get ready to come home, man. But you know what I mean? So what it was is Chuck playing like he's stupid, playing like he crazy, so he ain't had to join no gang. He ain't had to worry about nobody messing with him, because if you think you crazy, they going to leave you alone. So Chuck ran that the whole time to get away with it, play like you crazy. So how many of you youngins watching this willing to go to jail to play like you crazy, picking up cigarettes, smoking, spit off the ground, you know what I mean? Not using no lotion, you know what I mean? Do all of that just to be safe to survive in the penitentiary. That's why I say don't get involved in it, ain't worth it. So don't say I didn't tell you, man. But this big old cop over here, man, this big old cop right here, you know what I mean? He tried to jump out there on the homie Chuck. Chuck whooped him, man. Dropped him all on his neck, body slammed him, disrespected him out there in the yard twice. And Chuck wasn't trying to fight. The dude tried to attack him the second time because he was embarrassed that he dropped him and couldn't believe that he dropped him, because everybody looked at him as no disrespect, penitentiary talk, crazy Chuck. So now the whole prison, the inmates, the police, the female police, the unit team, everybody laughing at this big cop because he come there all broed up on steroids, acting like he was cut like that with these tight-ass shirts. This man used to actually take his shirts and he'll get them stitched so that they tighter, so they fit on his muscle, so that they look even more bulging and threatening. That ain't fool Chuck. Chuck dropped them all on his joint. So anyway, so we sitting there, and now Chuck get, you know, down to about 8-9 days. He's supposed to be leaving in the morning. Chuck still playing crazy. The night before, we all sitting down talking to Chuck. We tell him, boy, you get ready to go home, man. You get ready to go in the world. You going to go get some chow. You know what I mean? You going to go get some, baby boy. And we all teasing him. And he like, man, he just wants something to smoke. He leaving in the morning. He's still worried about something to smoke. Still playing crazy, I say. Because the homie swear on a stack of Bibles, man, I heard Chuck talking to his people, you, the nigga been faking you. Hit that like button, man, and drop a cash app if you like this, man. Hit the cash app and the like button if you like this story. So Chuck getting ready to leave in the morning. So the next morning he getting ready to leave, you know what I mean? And Chuck come in the cell, you know what I mean? Because, you know, they wake up early in the morning. Chuck come to my door, to my cell door before I leave, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking he want a cigarette. He knocked on the door, you understand what I'm saying? And guess what Chuck did, man? Chuck knocked on my door when they woke him up like 3:34 in the morning to go down to R&D to get packed out to get ready to leave for 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you know? Old Chuck came, knocked on my door. I looked up, I seen him. The lights is out there. I go to the door, and Chuck said, thank you. Chuck thanked me before he left. Never heard him speak. That's why I said a couple of times in the joint that he was acting like he crazy. I ain't hear him do a whole sentence, but before that man left, he came to my door and thanked me for helping him get out of prison, man, and doing his little grievances and all that to get him out of prison. But, you know, that's how God worked, man. I looked out for the brother. I looked out for a lot of brothers in the joint. I had life plus 20 where I had no business getting involved in their business, but just me being the man that I am, can't see one of us being like that. I got involved and I got my man out. You understand what I'm saying? And I felt good, you know? So Chuck told me, thank you, man. The next morning I go tell the homie, I said, yo, I think you're right, man. I think Chuck could talk and he been fooling us, man. You know what I mean? He said, man, I'm telling you. He said, why all of a sudden you believe me? I said, that man came to my door about 3:34 in the morning. I get up, go to the door. I'm thinking he wanted a cigarette or butt naked soup. I'm getting ready to flatten it because we'll take the little butt naked soup and we'll put it on the ground, we'll flatten it real flat and turn it to damn near rice grains so it's thin. You know what I mean? Because, you know, they come in little cubes so we can slide it under the door. I'm thinking Chuck wanted the soup and he coming back for a medical or something. You know what I mean? Or he wanted something to eat before he leave. But I came to the door and Chuck said, thank you. You know what I mean? The man never said thank you the whole time I was there with him 2-3 years. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and I was there 5 years. About 3 years I was there with old Chuck, man. But, you know, that's the moral of the story, man. So just letting you youngins know, don't go in there, don't go faking, acting like, you know what I mean? You crazy to survive. If that's what you want to do, you do it. But the easiest way to avoid that is not to get involved. Don't say I didn't tell you. The easiest way to avoid that is not to get involved. And I'm telling you and I'm telling you now. So it is what it is. I'm about to tap out. I hope y'all enjoyed this story because, you know, I enjoyed telling this story. But now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi guys, welcome to Platinum Cuisines. We're located in Freeport on the Nordica Mile. Just wanted to introduce my partner, Amy.
Hi guys, how are you? And this is my sister-in-law, Diana, another partner. I just ask that you come support our minority-owned business. We serve Asian fusion, Caribbean cuisine, and we have a beautiful restaurant located on the Nautical Mile in Freeport, New York. And we're asking that you come check us out and also make sure to tune in to Mecca Audio TV.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. Heat back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. Right. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca Audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spin a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. Baby horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, you we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the root men.
All right, you know what it is, man. Unique Mecca Audio, man. Cop the book of Rowan Harlem, man. Cop the book of Rowan Harlem at rowanharlem.com. Fire, audio book, the whole nine. All right.